With offseason practices beginning, all 32 NFL teams now have their 90-man rosters set and are ready to see who will make the 53. But how does every team stack up against each other? In this video, I'm going to be presenting my 2025 post-draft power rankings. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribe takes just a second and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Number 32, New Orleans Saints. This should come as a surprise to no one. The Saints have so many holes in their roster it looks like a piece of Swiss cheese. Their current quarterbacks are Tyler Shook, Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, and Hunter Deckers, which sounds more like employees at a lawn mowing company than an actual quarterback room. And it doesn't get much better after that. Their receiver room is actually pretty solid, but all their top three guys are super injury prone, and Chris Olave is quite literally one concussion away from having to retire early. They added Kelvin Banks in the draft to fill their left tackle need, which was a good move, but their O-line is still mostly unproven, and their one good piece, center Eric McCoy, is injury prone. Their D-line is pretty mediocre, and their leading linebacker, Demario Davis, is 36 years old. Plus, their cornerback room is pretty bad, and their defensive coordinator is Brandon Staley, so that should tell you all you need to know about that side of the ball. This is not a good team, and it's going to be a rough year for the Saints. Number 31, Cleveland Browns. Speaking of teams that are going to have a rough year, the Browns fit that perfectly. They also have a quarterback room that, let's just say, is less than desirable. Having Kenny Kitten Mittens, Grandpa Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, and Massage Watson in a quarterback battle looks like a scene taken straight out of a movie, and not a good one. I do like Quinshon Judkins as their running back, and their receiving core isn't horrible, assuming Deontay Johnson remembers how to play football, and their O-line also isn't terrible, at least on paper. Having Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward on defense is great, but the rest is either unproven or mid. Their other cornerbacks, Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome, declined significantly in 2024, and their linebacking core consists of an unproven second-round pick and 32-year-old Jordan Hicks. The Browns do have a couple good pieces, but overall, this team really stinks. Number 30, Tennessee Titans. Despite their placement on these power rankings, I do actually have some optimism for this team. They brought in some nice pieces during free agency, and I absolutely love their draft. Headlined by first overall pick Cam Ward, but this team is still bad. Cam Ward is obviously unproven, though I do think he's good, and the rest of the offense isn't anything special. Tony Pollard is a decent back, and Calvin Ridley's a solid wide receiver one, but their receiver depth isn't great, and their O-line is pretty bad, and it's going to require Peter Skoronski and JC Latham to take big steps next season to be a functional unit. They do have Jeffrey Simmons on defense, but outside of him, that side of the ball has no real star talent. It's a decent unit, but it's certainly not anything special. The Titans could absolutely outplay this ranking, considering all of the young players with potential that they do have, but right now, I can't put them any higher than 30. Number 29, New York Jets. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It wasn't all that long ago that the Jets were approaching top 5 territory after acquiring Aaron Rodgers. But after he was the worst thing to happen to New York in 24 years, they moved on from him and signed Justin Fields to be the starter. Fields arguably had his best season last year in Pittsburgh, but he's still not a good quarterback and is not the guy you want being your starter. Plus, their receiving room outside of Garrett Wilson is straight up ass, and even Breece Hall has been declining ever since his rookie season. Their defense still has a lot of talent like Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, and Will McDonald, but they also have some pretty bad players like Brandon Stevens and Andre Sisco. This team just doesn't inspire me, and I really do think they aren't that good. Number 28, New England Patriots. The Patriots were awful last season, but they added a ton of pieces at both free agency and the draft and actually aren't looking that horrible. Still not good, but not horrible. I'll start with their defense because that's where most of their additions took place. They added Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Harold Landry, and Robert Spillane through free agency, all of whom will be starters and should provide good to maybe even great play in Williams' case. I don't think this defense really is all that bad. I don't hate their offense either, but it's unproven. Drake May showed flashes in his rookie season, but he still only has 13 games under his belt. Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, and Will Campbell are all likely starters that also have to prove themselves. However, I think the additions of Stephon Diggs and Morgan Moses are really going to help. This Patriots team does have to prove themselves, but I could totally see them outplaying this ranking. Number 27, Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers do actually have a pretty talented roster, but they're this low because their current starting quarterback is Mason Rudolph, and the only other QBs on this roster are Skylar Thompson and 6th-round rookie Will Howard. That and their receiver depth are the main problems with this roster. However, everything else is pretty good. I think Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson are going to form a really solid running back duo. Their O-line isn't all that bad, and as usual, their defense is really good. I said in my AFC draft grades video that I think the Steelers not only have the best edge duo in TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, but also have the best edge depth in Nick Herbig and Jack Sawyer. Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, and Cole Holcomb form a solid linebacking core, and their secondary got that much better with the addition of Darius Slay joining Minka Fitzpatrick and Joey Porter Jr. If the Steelers were to get an actual QB, most likely Aaron Rodgers, then they would shoot up these rankings. rankings. But right now, because of their QB situation, they sit at 27. Number 26, Carolina Panthers. The Panthers absolutely improved in 2024 from 2023, and they also had a great offseason, but this team still isn't that great. Their receiving core is entirely unproven, with Tedero McMillan being a rookie and Xavier Legette and Jalen Coker entering just their second year. And while they did make improvements on their defense and they're getting Derek Brown back, their overall defense is still bad. And we can't talk about the Panthers without mentioning Bryce Young. He did show a lot of promise at the end of the season, and that's exciting, but he's still a bottom half quarterback as of right now. Overall, this team isn't that horrible. They certainly are the Browns or Saints level of bad, but they still aren't great. Number 25, Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags dealt with injuries last season and overall weren't great, but they are getting a healthy Trevor Lawrence back. They also made a bunch of nice additions in the offseason, including Travis Hunter, Wyatt Milam, Jordan Lewis, and Patrick McCarry. The receiving core should be pretty good with a year 2 Brian Thomas, and I don't think their defense is all that bad. This team isn't good, don't get me wrong. They are number 25 for a reason, but I don't think they're as bad as some make them out to be. Number 24, New York Giants. Look, I know the Giants were really bad last year, but I really like the additions they made this offseason. Russell Wilson, for all his flaws, is a solid bridge quarterback at this stage in his career. With the addition of Abdul Carter, the Giants form one of the best D-lines in the league, and their secondary also got a lot better with the additions of Javon Holland and Paulson Adebo. The Giants might actually have a top 10 defense this year. I genuinely mean that. However, they still do have a lot of holes in this roster. The receiver depth outside of Malik Neighbors isn't great. Theo Johnson is still a very unproven tight end, and their O-line isn't amazing either. But overall, I don't think this team is actually all that bad. Number 23, Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are a pretty weird team to rank because their overall team is good, but they have Anthony Richardson as their starting quarterback, who as of right now is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the league. I mean, what other quarterback is better at throwing 70-yard deep passes than 5-yard out routes? This team is talented though. They have one of the best running backs in the NFL in Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman and Josh Jones form one of the most underrated receiving cores in the league, and their overall defense is pretty solid, though their secondary isn't amazing. If Anthony Richardson can actually learn how to throw a football, then this team will be pretty good, but for now, they sit at 23. Number 22, Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are one of those teams that don't have that much star talent, but also don't have many holes. They're pretty solid at every position, with a few stars in there like Trey McBride and Budda Baker. Kyler Murray is a streaky quarterback, but ultimately falls in the middle of the league. James Conner is a solid running back. Their receiver room is decent, with Marvin Harrison Jr. still having lots of potential. Their O-line is also decent, and their defense as a whole isn't great, but isn't bad. This team is like the definition of average, and they'll probably finish it in 9 again this season. Number 21, Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are a pretty weird team to talk about because they obviously have some great pieces on their roster, but also massive holes. Bijan Robinson is one of the best running backs in the league, and quietly had a 1,900-yard sophomore season. Their O-line is also really good, led by one of the best guards in the league in Chris Lindstrom. Their secondary is also really good, led by AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. However, their D-line is absolutely atrocious. They're going to be starting 2 rookie edge rushers, and Kyle Pitts is, well, Kyle Pitts. Also, while Michael Penix looked good in his 3 games, he's only played 3 games. He's pretty much entirely unproven. This team has some potential, but its terrible front 7 and unproven quarterback hold them back as of now. Number 20, Chicago Bears. As usual, the Bears made a lot of additions in the offseason, and some pretty good ones too, but I don't think this team is still good enough to be any higher than 20. Their D-line outside of Montez Sweat is pretty bad. DeAndre Swift is still their starting running back, which is a problem, and their O-line is fine, but isn't going to be great unless Donner Wright and Braxton Jones really step up. However, they do have some nice pieces. Their secondary is really good, and their receiving core is young but talented, and I do think Caleb Williams is a pretty solid quarterback as of right now, with still a lot of potential. Overall, the Bears are fine, but not amazing. Number 19, Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders were one of the most improved teams this offseason, having one of the best drafts in the NFL and acquiring Geno Smith to be their new starting quarterback. Ashton Jeanty is one of the best running back prospects ever, and Brock Bowers is arguably the best tight end in the league. Plus, they're getting Christian Wilkins back from injury, who pairs up with Max Crosby to form one of the better D-lines in the league. However, their receiving core is pretty mediocre, with Jacoby Myers being the only proven piece, and their secondary is really lacking. The Raiders have some really good players, but they also have a fair amount of holes. Number 18, Miami Dolphins. I'll be totally honest, I'm kind of giving the Dolphins the benefit of the doubt here, because they did have a fair few players that had down seasons. Tua wasn't all that great, having more turnover-worthy plays than big-time throws, and also the lowest yards per attempt since 2021. Tyreek Hill had the worst season of his career since his rookie year, with the lowest yards per reception since 2021, and by far the lowest yards per route run of his career. Jalen Ramsey also took a step back, allowing the 3rd highest passer rating when targeted in his career, and also having a career-high missed tackle rate. Jalen Jalen Waddle had the lowest yards per reception since his rookie season, and like Tyreek Hill, also had the lowest yards per route run of his career. The entire team just took a step back in 2024, but they still do have talent. Tua isn't a bad quarterback, and Hill and Waddle are still one of the best receiving duos in the league. Jonnu Smith broke out for them, and they added some nice pieces on defense, including Kenneth Grant and Tyrell Dodson. This team has some good players, they just need to return to their previous forms. Number 17, Seattle Seahawks. While I did love their draft, I still didn't love the Seahawks overall offseason. I still don't really like the Sam Darnold signing because even with the addition of Gray Zabel, their O-line is still not that good and Sam Darnold crumbles under bad O-line play. I also never liked signing Cooper Kupp because I think his skill set is way too redundant with JSN's. But this team does have a lot of talent. They have a really solid defense aided by additions like Demarcus Lawrence. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet form a great running back duo, and Reek Woolen and Devon Witherspoon form a great cornerback duo. I do like this team overall, but I have my questions about some positions. Number 16, San Francisco 49ers. Yes, this team was bad last year, and yes, they lost a lot in free agency, but this team is still talented and are getting a lot of people back from injury. Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, and Nick Bosa were all key players that missed extended time last season. While I did think they had one of the worst drafts in the league, that was really only because they lit their 2 third-round picks on fire. They did make some nice picks like Micah Williams and Alfred Collins. Plus, I don't think Brock Purdy is that bad. He was playing really well last season until basically his entire offense got injured. This team still has plenty of holes, linebackers outside of Fred Warner, cornerback, and interior O-line, but they overall are a pretty good team. Number 15, Cincinnati Bengals. What happens when you have one of the best offenses in the NFL, but one of the worst defenses in the NFL? You end up right in the middle. Everyone knows how good this offense is. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, even Chase Brown quietly had a 1,300-yard season, but this defense is still putrid. Trey Hendrickson is the only good piece on that D-line, and he might not even play. Their linebacker room is incredibly mid, and their secondary is also just not good. Well, at least every Bengals game is going to be exciting because they're going to have to win 50-45 every time. Number 14, Dallas Cowboys. Similar to the 49ers, the Cowboys are getting a lot of players back from injury, including Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, and Trayvon Diggs. They also recently traded for George Pickens, who pairs up with CeeDee Lamb to form one of the best receiving duos in the league. And they should have a good D-line provided Mazi Smith actually figures out how to play football. But this team does have some glaring weaknesses, particularly in their running back room. Having a combination of Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and Jadon Blue is basically the equivalent of pulling random people from the street and putting pads on them. Remember those videos going around of people being asked if a random fag could get 1 yard in the NFL? Well, I think we should rephrase that question to, can a Cowboys running back gain 1 yard in the NFL? And I think the answer would be an overwhelming no. Jokes aside, this is a good team, and I think they will improve quite a bit from 2024. Number 13, Denver Broncos. The Broncos surprised a lot of people last season, making the playoffs with Bo Nix having a really good rookie season, and they only got better in the offseason, adding players like Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Evan Ingram, and Jahdae Barron. They might just have the best defense in the entire NFL. However, there are a few things that hold them back from being higher than 13. The most glaring is their running back room, which currently consists of RJ Harvey, Audric Estime, and Jaleel McLaughlin. I didn't like taking Harvey at 60th overall, but even if you're the biggest RJ Harvey fan, even you have to admit that he's still an unproven rookie. Also, their receiver depth outside of Courtland Sutton isn't great. However, I do still like this team, and I think they are very good. Number 12, Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers were good last season, but not good enough. However, I think they did a great job addressing their needs in the offseason, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They brought in Mekhi Becton to fill that right guard spot, and they drafted Trey Harris to fill that wide receiver 2 spot, and they brought in both Najee Harris and Amarian Hampton to form a really good running back duo. And they obviously have Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But while I like their offense, their defense is a little more polarizing. The red room is great, but their interior D-line isn't. Their safeties are great, but their cornerbacks aren't. It's a mixed bag on that side of the ball. However, I think the good definitely outweigh the bad, and this is a very good Chargers team. Number 11, Green Bay Packers. The Packers are one of those teams that are solid pretty much everywhere with some star talent sprinkled in. Jordan Love wasn't quite as good in 2024 as he was in 2023, but I still think he's an above average quarterback. Josh Jacobs is one of the best running backs in the league, and while their receiving core is young, I think they have a lot of talent there. Their offensive line is solid as well. Their defense was top 10 last year, and I think they'll be top 10 again this year, especially with the addition of Nate Hobbs. Overall, this this is a really good team, and I think they'll definitely be able to compete in a tough division. Number 10, Houston Texans. Despite seemingly having a down year in 2024, the Texans still managed to win a playoff game. They dealt with serious injuries that really held them back. However, I still think CJ Stroud is a great quarterback, and having a receiving duo of Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins should be very beneficial. Plus, Joe Mixon had arguably the best season of his career, really carrying the offense at times. Their defense should also be good once again, and they have one of the best edge duos in the league in Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. And their secondary should also be good, headlined by Derek Stingley Jr., who emerged as a superstar corner last season. My only real problem with this team is the O-line. They traded away Laramie Tunsil, and their only additions to that group were 2 replacement left tackles, free agent Cam Robinson and second-round pick Ariante Ursary. They'll probably have one of the worst O-lines in the league once again, but even with that, I still think very highly of this team, and they kick off my top 10. Number 9, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs may not have won a playoff game in 2024, but I think a lot of star players emerged last season, and that really makes this team good this season. Baker Mayfield was amazing, throwing for 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns, and I think he has cemented himself as a top 10 quarterback. Lucky Irving had an incredible rookie season, taking Rachaad White's job, and the Bucs still have one of the best receiving duos in the league in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. K-Dot also emerged as a star tight end, and their O-line should be pretty good, headlined by Tristan Wirfs. Their defense should also be really good, with the additions of Hassan Reddick, Benjamin Morrison, and Jacob Parrish. This is a really good team, and I feel very comfortable placing them at number 9. Number 8, Washington Commanders. The Commanders blew past all expectations in 2024, leading the number 1 seed Lions to reach the conference championship. That was in large part thanks to incredible QB play from Jaden Daniels, who after one season is already a top 10 quarterback in the league and is only getting better. Terry McLaurin posted the best season of his career, and I think the addition of Deebo Samuel is a nice high-risk, high-reward acquisition. They also traded for Laramie Tunsil and drafted Josh Connerly, and I think their O-line is going to be really good. However, I don't love their defense. It's good, don't get me wrong, but losing Jonathan Allen really sucks, and they just lack star talent on that side of the ball. However, having Dan Quinn run the defense helps, and overall, I see no reason why this team can't return to the playoffs once again. Number 7, Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I know. The Vikings have an unproven quarterback who hasn't played a single regular season game yet, and that's the only reason why they are in the top 5, because holy shit, this team is absolutely loaded. They're incredible at basically every position except quarterback. Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason are one of the best running back duos in the league. They have the best receiving core in the league with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. Adding Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, and Will Fries to play alongside Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill forms one of the best O-lines in the NFL. Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave are one of the better interior D-line duos in the league, and Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel are one of the best edge duos in the league. Blake Cashman and Ivan Pace Jr. are both really underrated linebackers, and I think their secondary with an extended Byron Murphy and Mekhi Blackman coming back from injury is also pretty good. Not to mention they have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, with Kevin O'Connell being the modern day quarterback whisperer and Brian Flores might just be the most diabolical defensive coordinator in the league. Are they going to win 14 games again? Unlikely, but this team is absolutely incredible everywhere but quarterback, and if McCarthy hits, and I think he will, this is going to be a scary team to face. Number 6, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams were the only team in the league that came anywhere close to stopping the Eagles in the playoff. That's how good they were last year, and they only got better in the offseason. Pairing up Puka Nacua with Davante Adams is horrifying for the rest of the league, and Matthew Stafford might just throw for 5,000 yards next season. Kyren Williams is coming off yet another great season, finishing with nearly 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. The O-line with the addition of Coleman Shelton should also be pretty good, and while the defense isn't near perfect and could definitely improve, I still think they're a solid unit. This is a really good Rams team, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if they made a surprise run next season. Number 5, Buffalo Bills. The Bills came up just short last season, falling to the Chiefs in the conference championship by 3, but I feel like they could have really improved more in the offseason. I don't think they got all that much better. I like their draft, but their free agency was a bit lackluster. This is still a great team though, headlined by reigning MVP Josh Allen. He was incredible in 2024, and a big reason why they got to the conference championship in the first place. James Cook built off his breakout 2023 season and had an even better 2024 season, scoring a career-high 18 touchdowns. Khalil Shakir also emerged as a really reliable receiver. He had a measly 2.6% drop rate, which is incredible. Their O-line is also good, and their defense should be a top 10 unit, providing Joey Bosa can stay healthy. Overall, this is a really good team, and they should be able to make another deep playoff run in 2025. Number 4, Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens fell to the Bills in the division round last year, but I feel like they improved enough in the offseason to jump ahead of them. Lamar Jackson, for my money, is the best quarterback in the league right now, and Derrick Henry is the best best running back in the league, not named Saquon Barkley. Zay Flowers emerged as a really nice receiver, and adding DeAndre Hopkins as a 3 was a great move. Mark Andrews is still a top 5 tight end, and their O-line is also really good. Their defense was the top 10 unit last season, but I think they'll be even better this year with the additions of Malachi Starks, Mike Green, and Chidobe Awuzie. This is a great team, and I think they have a great shot at a Lombardi. Number 3, Detroit Lions. Despite going 15-2, the Lions definitely disappointed by not winning a playoff game. However, this is still one of the best teams in the NFL for sure. Their offense from top to bottom is incredible. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Frank Ragnow, Penei Sewell. This offense is amazing. And their defense is getting a ton of players back from injury. Aiden Hutchinson, Aleem McNeil, Alex Anzalone, Ernest Rakestraw, and Derek Barnes all missed significant time in 2024. Plus, they added DJ Reed to their secondary, making it that much better. This is an amazing team and is absolutely going to contend for a Lombardi. Number 2, Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs sucked in the Super Bowl, but they still made it there and are still the best team in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, and getting Rashee Rice back from injury will be huge. I love adding Josh Simmons to this O-line unit, which should hopefully be much better than last year, and Isaiah Pacheco could hopefully return to his 2023 form after getting a whole offseason to recover from injury. This defense was a top 5 unit last year, and under Steve Spagnuolo, I have no doubts they'll be again. Love them or hate them, the Chiefs are still the best team in the AFC. Number 1, Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, the reigning Super Bowl champions are number 1, but not just because they won the Super Bowl. No, it's because they won the Super Bowl and added a lot of great players in the offseason, mostly through the draft. Yes, they lost a lot, but they also added people like Jihad Campbell, Azeez Ojulari, and Andrew Makuba. They still have Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and more on this roster. And there is no doubt that the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFL. But that's it. Those are my 2025 post-draft power rankings. Or do you agree? Or do you disagree? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. And that's it for me. See ya.